or Baby George, who was an artist, where his workers was in the Smithsonian Institute, where you had a Charles Thornton, a Roach Brown. I mean, you know, that produced transformations. And the greatest thing
was Petey Green there?
Petey Green was there prior to me getting there, but he was down there with Roach, you know. But we saw individuals that gave a certain part of them that in a period of time transformed into our commitment for community. When the young brother asked me, what does it take to have individuals reproduce like you? And I think that what it takes is to get these individuals in an environment where their hearts are open and their minds are clear. And you install the basic principles of community love and concern in them, where they have a desire for. This is where surgery should be performed at, considering the numbers that we have there to make this transformation. And the spillover factor and the repayment factor is what you all saw last night.
Right.
You saw examples of that.
And it's crazy, not to cut you off, it's crazy that you say, the thing that stuck out to me the most was when you just said about the learning mode. You know what I mean? And I think that in the community, in my generation, of course, I mean, I think all black men, of course, have the learning mode, but in my generation, they'll become more infectious with, I guess, the negativity of the streets, you know what I mean? Because each black man, like you said, have a learning mode, you know what I mean? So sometimes I feel like that's why there's so much duplicity going on, because they're learning how to become a criminal. You understand what I'm saying? Because I mean that's really, they're around that 24/7. You understand what I'm saying? Me and Dr. Richardson talk about it a lot, how we always say that. I mean, if you put I mean, not to put us towards the dog, but if you put a dog in a corner, eventually he's gonna bite back. You understand what I'm saying? So I mean, you gotta learn something growing up. You know what I mean? We talk a lot about human capital, social capital, financial capital, and I think that us as young black men, we don't understand that if you put human capital and social capital together, you will always get a financial capital. But being brought up in the hood, we think about that financial capital first. We think about that money first. You know what I mean? But if you stay in school, if you do certain things to develop that human capital, and it's always been about who you know, that always leads to money. You understand what I'm saying? But like we always say, all we see is drugs and shootings. You know what I mean? So we develop our mind, you know what I mean, and become more wise. It's easy to make a buck, especially the legal way.
That's right.
And I'm starting to see that now, as I just turned 29. You know what I mean?
Right.
Of course, being in the streets, you learn how to flip. You understand what I'm saying? So now it's more like, you know what? Let me learn how to flip something that's legit. This podcast, me going around speaking. You understand what I'm saying? So I feel like it's all about what you take in. You understand what I'm saying? And I feel like that's why they like to keep us basically incarcerated within our own hood. You know what I mean? I talk to a lot of my buddies, they ain't never been outside that 4 to 5 block radius.
They won't go.
They won't go. It's foreign to them. They're oblivious to it. You know what I mean? And me having the chance to be able to step outside that radius, I sit back and think, damn, what can I do for my brothers so they can see the light just how I see the light?
You know what, brother? I know we do a lot of youth gang intervention work as the Alliance of Concerned Men. And in that work, we have been able to see brothers and sisters, given the opportunity, they will usually seize it. Because everybody has a dream. See, I don't care what conditions or circumstances, they have a dream. And I think when they get with the right people that they feel the spirit of commitment to them, it would help them to walk that road. And as they walk that road, you can expose them to a brighter light. And the light that you expose them to, man, some of them brothers ain't going back, especially if they got the support system and can see the ingenious. You know, when folks say, don't tell me what you can't do when you've already did everything.
Every day.
See,
indeed.
See, and that's major. So when we begin to nourish the inner spirit, and sometimes we're gonna get cursed out.
Oh, indeed.
You know, you may even get a woozy drawn on you.
You know, because
they're gonna test the water.
Yeah.
Ain't no air at all in that. They're gonna see how legitimate you are. But
we had shout out to Kelly. We had Edward Kelly on here.
interrupted.
Cure
It
violence.
was Cure Violence Interrupted. He was saying the same thing, like, you know, he has to basically walk up to brothers that are out there like that, and sometimes he gets up to brothers and he's like, brothers be like, get the fuck out of my face. You know, I ain't trying to hear that shit. Straight up. And he has to say, you know what, brother? Alright. You know, I agree. You know, I agree to disagree.
Right.
And I'll see you later.
Right.
But you know, he got to keep himself out there, and the more he's out there, eventually, you know, when a brother gets the response that he doesn't think he's going to get, so it's almost like the killing him with kindness, because he think the response is going to be like, who the fuck you talking to?
Right.
But when you respond that way, then that brother has to think, damn, I just said all of this to this brother, and the brother responded to me like this. Now I got to think about it, because now the brother's coming back out here again the next day. And he's going to be out here the next day, and the next day after that. And eventually he said, the brother will come up to him and say, yo, I apologize, or I thought about what you said the other day. And that's the way that he ultimately is able to be out on the street to diffuse the violence.
You know, that happens on a regular basis, man. When you're being real, when you're real and honest, it happens on a regular basis. When you're being real and honest about something, and you run up to some juggy boogie, or somebody like that talk that old stuff, trying to be tough, and he got his ego, and he got to impress the brothers. Realness always supersedes or override that. And he'll come back. If you don't do it then, man, I was wrong, you were right, and so on. Everybody want to do the right thing, man. I don't care what it is. He was saying something earlier. We grew up in a system, man, where we had a separate economy. I didn't consider myself as a criminal. I've been locked up since I was like 8 years old. I was getting locked up stealing stuff out the 5 and 10. Now it's called a dollar store. Everything didn't change. You know what I mean? And, so it didn't matter. We had to find a way to exist and to live in another economy. They did prohibition, and they came back and it was illegal to drink booze, but now you can drink it. They did the same thing with cocaine and the drugs. Now they're doing the same thing with the numbers. Numbers was one of our biggest business. When the economy tanked, when Wall Street fell, when the depression hit, we had the numbers. And everybody could bet a 5, 10, 20. You can make 20, you can make $25, $50, $100. That little 25, 50, 100 kept a lot of families alive. When the folks up top saw the money was making from numbers, now they can make numbers legal. I got people in my family that been sent to prison for writing numbers. Malcolm X got busted for writing numbers, you know, in our community. But they saw the economics of this particular system. Now they made it the lottery, the American lottery. So now you can bet legally as long as the government control it. They control the money and the system. They couldn't control this. So we had to create a whole different lifestyles. And something Tyrone touched on. We got guys in our community. I learned more from guys on the corner about ethics, character, principles. Them guys would be clean, and they be running the numbers. And you come by and say, man, my father's in the joint, man, and we ain't got no money to pay the bills. So I heard your wang got busted. What you need? We said we need $200. Say you got it. No collateral, no kissing nobody's butt. You had to go through no damn. He said, when can you get it back? And he know that you get it back when you can. And if you don't get it back, it don't make no difference. He know that you in the community. You need him. He know he gonna need you one day. And one day he might need you, the number banker. So this was our bankers. We had our own banker system, our own economy, and I learned more. My father was in jail with me, my grandfather. I was in jail with my father and grandfather. We was in the same, put down in Lawton. And all terms of dope fiends. I was hooked too. And I'm in prison with my father and my grandfather, and we in prison together. And I'm thinking everybody in America is doing this. But I didn't realize the racism and discrimination that was involved. Because where I lived, it was like, they had it in the newspaper and in a book that everybody living in this neighborhood was thieves, beggars, robbers, prostitutes, and hustlers. Because we didn't have no jobs. Now what the hell are you gonna do, man? If you ain't got nothing to eat, no lights on, no water, you can't flush your toilet, you can't feed your baby, you can't feed yourself. You ain't got no plumbing to flush nothing. We got to break in the buildings to take a bath. We had to break in the buildings to take a bath, man.
Roach, how many years you did total?
I did a total of 30 years and 4 months, man. I'm 73 years old. Half of my life has been spent in and out. I've been in like 9 prisons around America. And some of them, they were the pits. When you go to prisons, you come out of D.C., which is all black. And they send you to El Reno, Oklahoma. and it's
Federal.
all white folks. And you get off the bus and you see the correction officers coming to the prison on horses, not cars. They riding horses, man, to the joint.
Right.
And they got about 30, 40 buffaloes in front of the prison. And I'm from Washington, D.C. I ain't never seen a buffalo nothing. Buffalo Avenue, no nothing.
Yeah.
And you got these folks riding elephants, I mean, not elephants, they driving horses and buffaloes inside, and they calling you a nigger. To your face, man. And ain't no thing about, like, it was out of order. You was a nigger. And you better not say nothing, they'll bust your head open. And we know when you in these places like this, when they take you downstairs to solitary, they do whatever they want. My head bust open, my teeth got kicked out. I know what they do, man. So you learn how to take them kind of insults, brother, even though they dirt deep. But you learn how to take, let it roll off your shoulder and say, maybe my day's coming.
Before we jump ahead, I want to kind of, speak on
How many total you did?
8 years, 8 years, 6 months, 4 days. That was mine.
In 32 minutes.
31.
You got the seconds down too, bro?
I want to kind of touch on when you said you were in prison, your father in prison, and your grandfather in prison. What do you think that did to you as far as mental-wise? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you think it set you back, or did it give you a certain way of...
We're talking about